Alrighty, everybody, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining me here at the Atlanta News First Alert Desk. I'm Savannah Louie. It is Wednesday, August 23rd, and we've got your top stories for the Atlanta Metro today. And what I want to start out here with is something that should not come as a surprise if you've been following along with the headlines. The big story that is not only sweeping the Atlanta metro area, but also the entire country, has to do with the indictment of 19 people here in Fulton County, including former President Trump. I want to get you up to speed on the very latest developments today because there are quite a few that occurred. But first, before we get to that, here are those 19 people. You can see up here former President Donald Trump in the left-hand top corner. And then the other second main person that I want to talk about today is his former lawyer, or attorney rather, Rudy Giuliani. Today, the latest news. Rudy Giuliani surrenders at Fulton County Jail today. What you're looking at right here is the SUV carrying Rudy Giuliani when he surrendered earlier this afternoon. Now, Giuliani had a $150,000 bond. He was facing a number of charges, 13 counts, all related to efforts to allegedly overturn the 2020 presidential election here in Georgia. This right here is Giuliani's mugshot. This is new from today, just a couple of hours ago, taken when Giuliani was fingerprinted and then photographed inside the Fulton County Jail. This is, again, a developing story, and Giuliani is not the only person who surrendered today. There have been a number of folks who are part of this indictment who turned themselves in, who surrendered. This includes Sidney Powell, a former Trump attorney, Ray Smith, Kenneth Cheesebro, David Schaefer, Kathleen Latham, John Eastman, and Scott Hall. Eastman and Hall, that was yesterday, by the way. They surrendered yesterday. Now, I want to point out here, prosecutors have said Giuliani was involved in a plan to have 16 Republicans from Georgia serve as fake electors. So that was one of the key reasons behind his specific indictment. His plan, allegedly, was to have these Republicans swear that Trump had won the 2020 presidential election and declare themselves the state's duly elected and qualified electors. And again, this is all part of a sweeping indictment of 19 people who are all facing charges related to racketeering and conspiring to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Now, what I want to get to is, I guess we could call it the main event happening tomorrow. We are expecting former President Donald Trump to turn himself in tomorrow afternoon. And there he is. This is from the last time he was indicted. Trump, by the way, this is his fourth indictment, this current indictment here in Fulton County. Now, Trump actually spoke out today on Truth Social, that's his social media platform, about tomorrow's events. And he says, quote, "Nobody has ever fought for election integrity like President Donald J. Trump. For doing so, I will proudly be arrested tomorrow afternoon in Georgia." All right, so it is still unclear when exactly the former president will arrive here in Atlanta, but if you're in this area at all, Fulton County Jail on Rice Street, downtown Atlanta, near the courthouse at all, you can expect heavy traffic and a sweeping police and authority presence in the area. The Fulton County Sheriff's Office says there's going to be a hard lockdown, though, in this area when Trump does surrender. Secret Service, Fulton County deputies, and Atlanta police will line the perimeter of the jail while he's being processed. And yes, we are expecting a mugshot from the former president out of this. The Fulton County Sheriff has previously said that he would treat all criminals the same, or alleged criminals the same. You can stay with Atlanta News First for the very latest updates on this story. We are going to have team coverage starting tomorrow morning at the earliest hours, 4:30 a.m. You can stay with Atlanta News First, of course, on air and online at atlantanewsfirst.com and the Atlanta News First app for all of the latest there. All right, now another interesting, and this is the last little tidbit I want to get out there about the indictment. You might remember a couple days ago, Mark Meadows, he is one of the folks who is wrapped up in this indictment. He's Trump's former chief of staff. And he made a bid, a request, to move this case to a federal court. We learned today that request was denied. Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis tells a federal court it should not interfere with any efforts to arrest Mark Meadows if he fails to surrender himself by the deadline to turn himself in. By the way, everybody's deadline to turn themselves in is this Friday at noon, so the clock is really ticking down. Really just 1.5 more days until we get there. Attorneys for Meadows and former Justice Department official Jeffrey Clark both filed motions to move their charges to federal court. They argue that the charges against them should be dismissed. According to today's ruling, the two must surrender themselves at the Fulton County Jail by Friday. So again, we are going to be tracking the rest of those surrenders from the rest of the folks who need to turn themselves in and be booked. I believe 9 of the 19 have already done so. So we're still tracking quite a number, about half of them. Half have surrendered, the other half are expected to in just a matter of days here. Alrighty, I want to get here to an update on a story we've been following for a week now, and this is an extremely difficult story to tell. Police in East Point made a devastating update earlier today on this little boy right here. This is Josiah Mitchell, 2 years old. He went missing 1 week ago. The news from authorities today, well, they say that they found a small child's body in reference to the disappearance of this 2-year-old from DeKalb County. They did not confirm, they cannot confirm that the body is that of Josiah's. They still need to get all that DNA testing done. What's especially troubling is they found that little boy's body on the 3100 block of South Martin Street, a trash facility. Absolutely devastating. Atlanta News First crews were at the police headquarters earlier today, where the family was also there, the family of Josiah. And they were absolutely devastated. They couldn't speak to media just because they're in such a rough spot right now. Something else that just adds an extra element of hurt to this story. When Mitchell went missing on August 16th, his father, Artavius North, first said he was taken during an armed robbery that turned into a kidnapping. Well, it wasn't long before his father, again, Artavius North, was arrested for false reporting and making false statements. Now police tell us he is a prime suspect and he could face a number of other charges, including murder. Our Chelsea Beimfor is on this devastating story for us tonight. She's going to bring us the very latest on this whole case. That's going to be coming up at 9, 10, and 11 o'clock on Atlanta News First. I hope that you can join us because it is important that we remember that little boy. Although, to be fair, police have not confirmed yet that the body is Josiah Mitchell's. They're still waiting for that confirmation. All right, final story I want to get for you tonight here. We're going to Cobb County for this one. And this is a pretty interesting development from a story we brought you last week over the course of several days when a teacher was terminated for her decision to read a book to her class. The book, called My Shadow is Purple, has to do with gender identity. And this is the very latest. More books are being banned from school libraries in Cobb County. This is one of them. Okay, it's called Flamer. You can see. And here's another book, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Both of those books banned from Cobb County school libraries because of their controversy. Some officials from Cobb County say they have inappropriate and sexually explicit content. Mostly, I believe Flamer has to do with a young man who discovers his preference, his sexual preference. And Me and Earl and the Dying Girl is another story about 2 high school boys who befriend a girl who is dying of cancer. And that book does contain discussion of sex and some profanity as well. Both of these books were among the most challenged of 2022, according to the American Library Association. So this is not just really an issue that we're seeing here in Cobb County, but districts from across the country have brought these books into discussion. And again, this comes just 1 week after a Cobb County teacher was fired for her decision to read the book My Shadow is Purple to her students. All right, guys, I feel like that was a very tough run through of stories that we had today, but all of them are very important. So I wanted to make sure we got all of those in there for you. Thank you again so much for joining me here at Atlanta News First. Let me see. Let's send you out with a picture of the Brave Stadium. Look at that. Those stands are full. People are loving their baseball tonight. And if you're out there, well, it's a pretty warm night for baseball. All right, guys, we don't have weather tonight, unfortunately, but I'll tell you the most important thing. It's going to be hot, and it's going to stay hot. I believe we have 3 first alerts going into this weekend. I believe Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Ooh, we're expecting triple degrees out there. Obviously, I'm not a meteorologist, but what I can tell you is that we will have a full, complete weather report with the one and only Fred Campagna. And I believe Patrick Pete is going to be in our evening show as well. That will be coming up for you later this evening. Join us on Peachtree TV at 9 and 10 and at Atlanta News First, WANF, at 11 o'clock. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. We will see you right back here